Welcome everyone to the third weekly COVID-19 community call. I want to welcome everyone, and I hope that everyone is out there and safe in their homes or isolated offices or caves or whatever the case may be. This is for those who have not been on here before, this is just a weekly call to share updates and announcements and to share what people are doing out in the field that is not working, questions that we need to follow up with, either that Nicole can pass on to DCYF or that Joel and I can try to address at WSA or pass on to the regional office. With that, Nicole, why don't you start? Any updates from DCYF? And you know, while we're doing this, like I know that DCYF sent out their large FAQ with all of the new things, and so after Nicole gives her update, I'd be interested in hearing from folks about whether or not all their questions have been answered and what other things are unexpected challenges or things that we might want to pursue some clarification on from DCYF.
Sounds good, Katie. Yeah, there are at least one question that I can think of. There might be more that we're still working on answering from our ECEAP directors meeting that happened on the 18th of March, and maybe some others that have come into the ECEAP inbox fairly recently, and we're working on answering those for sure. The updated FAQ went out with a good number of questions that were added to that since the last time, and that came out on Friday. I think the biggest update, you know, besides the FAQ, is the weekly check-in for direct services staff that's going to be launching. And I think the important part about that as well is that we're also, you know, through our partners at the Head Start Collaboration Office, offering both base camp supports and these weekly check-ins for Head Start staff as well. And so there are, I think later today, there's one weekly check-in webinar that's beginning for family support and education staff, one each. So one is at 1 o'clock and one's at 2 o'clock. I don't remember which one is which, but I can look at my calendar if you guys need to know. And those will be becoming regular starting next week. The education staff are going to be meeting on Wednesdays weekly, and the family support staff are going to be meeting on Fridays weekly. And that also includes not just, you know, classroom teachers and family support direct services workers, but also leads or coordinators or coaches as well. So we just encourage, you know, education coaches, education coordinators, and education classroom staff to attend the ed staff weekly check-ins, and the family support leads and staff to attend the family support check-ins. The first ones are really going to be very similar to what you described at the beginning of this call, Katie, like how are things going? What resources do people want to share? What barriers are they seeing? What questions, you know, not necessarily a whole ton of questions, but, you know, obviously we'll take questions and answer them as we can. But really we want to facilitate sharing and, you know, resource sharing and what people are doing really across the state together. And then we'll be answering questions on the base camp too. So as questions come in, we'll run them through our FAQ process and get them back out to people as we need to. So that's the biggest update. We also have a ECEAP directors check-in that's happening on Wednesday as well. And so if you all ECEAP directors got those notices, that's what that is for as well. And the idea about all three of those check-ins is that whatever people, you know, see as the next topic or the next thing that they would like to see us talk about during those times, we will begin to produce those. And so one of the things that ECEAP directors shared with us on our Wednesday directors meeting was that we're interested in trauma-informed care trainings. And so there were a couple of links that went out in the FAQ on Friday, but in addition to that, we're collaborating with our trauma-informed care staff and mental health consultant staff at DCYF to bring some content for family support staff webinars and for education staff webinars. And we'll continue to, kind of adjust as people say, hey, trauma-informed care was great, now let's do, how to have a home visit, what are people's best ideas for home visits on virtual platforms, so we'll adjust really to what staff are asking for. Same goes for the ECAP director check-ins as well. We will have Mary Nagel from CACFP available to answer questions on the ECAP director check-in this Wednesday. And so ECAP directors, if you're getting questions about CACFP, bring those. She'll have some time to do some Q&A. So, and then we'll pick another topic as we need to. So I think that's the biggest update that I have. And, more questions, if your questions haven't been answered yet, then you can, we'll be working on those, and just let us know if it doesn't come out in the next FAQ. But some of them are, also requiring some of our partners, like the professional development group and all of that, to be able to answer. So thanks for your patience.
So Nicole, this is so funny because we had I just set up our a very similar thing, a family support sort of meetup sort of thing on Friday, and we were going to do it for all these other components. But I guess my question for you is, I don't necessarily want to duplicate. Our Head Start providers invited to participate in those, or?
Yes, we got the list from the Head Start Collaboration Office. So what's happening, especially with the education one, so the Family Support Base Camp for ECAP has been running for a while because it was originally started on mobility mentoring. And we can hand add people from additional people that, ECAP contractors want to add to that, or Head Start staff as people email us. With the education base camp, it is a huge amount of people to add. So I think Kelly DeBoer sent emails out to ECAP directors. If you didn't get that email, then let me know. But to ECAP directors, and then forwarded the information to Head Start grantees as well.
Can everybody talk a little bit slower? Maricela is translating or interpreting on the Spanish line. So.
Thank you for the reminder. So if one of our staff members sent out some notification of how Ed staff can access the base camp for our education staff. If you didn't get that, you can email the ECAP inbox and request some information around that. And similarly, I believe that they are emailing people the links to the family support webinars and the education staff webinars. So if you didn't get those or don't see them on the base camp, you can also email the ECAP inbox and request those. Those, I think the initial webinars for family support, like I said earlier, I think they're starting at 1 o'clock. So if you didn't get the information, you can go ahead and type it into the chat box, and I'll see if there's someone that can help you right away with that, since they're starting pretty soon.
Great, thanks. Any questions out there? Any things? So Unity Vanderhoof said she didn't get that information, so if you could send that along, and send it to me and Joel as well, if you would. Other things, are there clarifications and confusion or anything that you would like DCYF to update in their next FAQ?
So this is Stacy from ESD 105 in Yakima, and I wanted to just find out, we've been mobilizing our team for the last couple of weeks, and we have like virtual classroom services going on, virtual family support services, other check-in, like a weekly staffing. So we're doing a lot online. What I want to know about Nicole is maybe like with these opportunities for education staff and family support staff to participate in these weekly things, do you want someone from each contractor participating, or is it an optional support?
It's optional.
Okay.
Great question, Stacy. It's recommended because, you know, the more, very similar to Basecamp, you know, the more people that are on sharing what they're doing, exchanging information, you know, I think the stronger it will be. But it's not required at this time. Neither are the CAP director check-ins.
Okay, we're just trying to balance this, like the same way we're trying not to overwhelm our families with, you know, like sending out too much and having too many touch points. We're trying to do the same with our staff. And I think they're getting to the point where they're kind of challenged with figuring out how to prioritize what. So that's good clarification. Thank you.
Nicole, is there a calendar that shows all the meetings? Michelle Raw-Lewis is saying that she thinks that she may be missing some things because there's so much going on.
We can certainly create, you know, collaborate with whoever to add either. I know, Katie, you've been sending out, you know, what's coming up in a table in emails, then that's been really helpful, and we can do something similar if we need to. And if it would be better for us to collaborate to do that, so that it can show, you know, what's going on each day, that might be something that we could do together too, Kate.
Yeah, so let me share my screen here. For those of you who can see on the screen, we have a webpage that actually has all of our upcoming discussions and webinars and the links, and then also the recordings for things that have been completed. You can access it from the front page of our website on the right-hand side. So I wonder, Nicole, whether or not, I mean, we can certainly include, I can adjust this kind of table and include the stuff that you guys are doing as well, if you want. So just let me know, we can touch base, after. And while I have this on the screen, I wanted to mention a couple of things that are coming up. For directors, we have two really great things coming up in the next couple of days. The lawyer who is the lawyer for Chelan Douglas Child Development and who has done a lot of our training around personnel issues, is doing a Q&A on the new FMLA and sick leave requirements for directors and, you know, senior staff. That's going to be tomorrow. And if you have any questions, we'd love to have the questions in advance. So are any of you attending that? And do you have any questions that I can share with him? You can send them to me later.
Katie, can you tell me where is this this part of the website so I can share it in the Spanish line? I'm looking for it in events and trainings, but I cannot find it.
No, if you go to the front page, it's right here.
Okay.
We have Zoom events.
I think that was the interpreter, actually.
Yes, I'm an interpreter.
Yes. The other thing that we have is a directed call with Dr. Debbie Bergeron on Wednesday. And I would encourage, we have a Zoom account which is limited to 100 people, and we have 118 people signed up for that. So if you really want to attend, you should get on early. So, if you have any questions that you want to send ahead of time, Sandy Nelson sent me a question this morning. I will forward those to Dr. Bergeron and her staff as well in preparation for this. And Kathy Shuknick will be on that call as well. This is a director call, and it is open to Washington and the rest of Region 10 as well. Any questions that you guys want us to make sure Debbie Bergeron answers? Okay. And then we have a couple things that are really great for families. We have strengthening families, English, and this is good for staff as well. Victoria Hilt, who many of you knew, who's a past parent ambassador and a past board member. She is, she's done many trainings in person at our meeting. And she will be doing a series of strengthening families webinars that are particularly pertinent to our experience during COVID-19. Sandy Nelson has a question. Does the new federal act supersede the notification that grantees are to pay Head Start and provide services to the extent? Okay, so this is for FMLA. Okay, gotcha. And then we have a couple of other things going on. Every week we have a really fun Spanish story time with Maricela. We have another early learning chess session. That one was really great last week. And then we have Paul Figueroa, who is super popular with the parents, doing something about self-care, but I haven't gotten his description yet. The other thing I wanted to mention is that, as you might imagine, we have had to cancel our Birth to 3 conference, which was happening near the end of April, and our parent conference. The Parent Leadership Conference will be moved to November. We have dates in November. The infant toddler or Birth to 3, we are moving online, and so you will be getting soon from me a series of opportunities for infant toddler training online. I just got off the phone this morning with Lakeshore, who's doing a series of things, and so I just have to work out with ECEAP how I get the stars to work and all of this when it's not really an event, but it's like a series of events that used to be an event. I'm trying to figure out what that's going to look like, but you should be receiving a lot of that soon, so your infant toddler teachers will have some professional development opportunities. The Summer Institute also, they have canceled us because the college is closed until July 1st, and our event started on the 29th. So we are exploring our options for that, but I don't have any word about that at this point. All right. Joel, would you like to go ahead and talk a little bit about childcare?
Sure. Let me give you guys, and thank you. I'm glad there's so many people on this call. So 3 things on advocacy, and then we can open it up for some questions. The first one that I've been focused on is around childcare subsidies. And I think you know that our state has decided that you are able to close and still receive a childcare subsidy, but you must have essentially an outbreak or something happen according to the Department of Public Health. Our association's position has been that if you decide to close your childcare, that you should still be able to continue to draw down childcare subsidies. We've been working with a number of groups nationally, as well as the Early Learning Action Alliance, or Early Learning Advocacy Coalition, to develop a sign-on letter and advocate for that position. So Nicole, you can tell them at DCYF that they'll be receiving a letter very shortly, as well as the governor's office, to see if DCYF will become more flexible in their position on this. But that's been something that's been taking up some time. There are many states that that is the policy, that if they choose to close because of caution around the public health situation, they can still draw down subsidy. In fact, a lot of states do that. Most states that I've talked to are surprised that the state of Washington, where the coronavirus outbreak was launched, unfortunately, from their perspective, has been a little reactive to some of these policies. So anyway, so we are going to be advocating stronger and more aggressively around the child care subsidy and making sure that people get paid out if they decide to close. So that's issue number one. And I'll take questions in a second. Issue number two, I want to try to do a good job of telling your story in Head Start and ECEAP about what you're doing. I saw a Politico article. As you can imagine, I'm home like everybody else, right? So I'm doing even more reading of all these political journals and websites and everything else. And I came across a Politico article about the Recovery Act and the Relief Act, or whatever you want to call it. And the author wrote, well, why is Head Start getting any money? They're all closed. And that led me to believe that one thing we need to do is make sure we're telling our story about what we're actually doing, that we're not closed, that we're providing alternative and modified services across the board to families. And I know DCYF is collecting some of those. Katie's collecting some examples. I might reach out to you individually too to help tell that story. So I wanted to either put a blog post or something together that we can share with our congressional delegation as well as our state lawmakers who may be wondering what Head Start and ECEAP programs are doing. The third thing that I want to mention is that it's still up in the air even this week about what the governor will do around the budget. So the budget needs to be signed, I think, by the end of this week. And there is a lot of speculation that because of the coronavirus situation and the impact on revenue in the state, will the governor decide to cut early learning or homeless services or other things that we advocated for during the supplemental session? Will he decide not to sign certain bills, for instance, like the homeless childcare policy, or delay things? So we don't have a good firm grip on that, although our lobbyist, Melissa Johnson, has been in contact with the governor's office as well as myself. So we are, so we're very focused on keeping abreast of that. There's probably not a lot of advocacy for us to do because they're overwhelmed in the governor's office about all of these issues. So it's mostly conversations now to make sure that funding for early learning and some of the gains we had this session aren't lost. The state is going to receive, I think, upwards of like $50 million as part of the Federal Relief Act around childcare subsidies. As you know, there was a $3.4 billion increase in childcare. That's not what the advocates were seeking, of course, but that will go, hopefully, at least, if not a long way, at least a short way in plugging some of the gaps around childcare and essential services, those that are staying open. And as you know, Head Start receives some funding as well to support programs and also to potentially offer a summer option if things were to clear up a little bit. So just letting you know, that's what we're working on the advocacy side. There's also a little bit of advocacy around the emergency, whether Head Start programs can be called for duty around emergency services. I think my perspective is that the guidance that went out was a little too restrictive. And so I've been encouraging the Office of Head Start to create some more options for Head Start staff in programs that want to provide services to essential workers, and that can do that. So so anyway, those are the things that I've been focused on around the advocacy, and Katie as well. And I'm happy to take any questions if you have any. Let me look to see if there's any chat.
I did want to note that I missed a couple of earlier comments about the communication from DCYF on base camp and on the webinars, the family support, et cetera. Nicole, I'm not sure that all the subcontractors are getting them or that they're getting to staff. So I wonder whether I actually have the capability to send out to all the people who are registered for this call so that we could at least get it to all of these folks. So if you're open to that, if you send me that information, I will share with them.
Yeah, I know, you know, depending on which, you know, ESD, Melissa, that I saw your question about you're subcontracted under the ESD. Everybody does have their different communication, you know, protocols and ways that they share information with subcontractors, and we really want you to be getting this information, and we also want to honor those communication, you know, methodologies that your contractor has. And so, you know, I'd encourage you really quickly, if you can, to reach out to your ECEAP family support coach and see if they can share that information with you. And if not, you know, maybe I'll still be on if you hear back from them, and then we can figure something else out. But yeah, we definitely want to you know, get you on these if we can, and also go through what your contractor is, you know, the communication methods that your contractor has laid out too. If you can try that, and then let me know how that works.
That's frustrating. I'm just gonna channel the folks who are on the call. Yeah, it's always challenging. We're all inundated with so much information, figuring out what to look at and what not, and what to pass on and what not. I know that there's always bottlenecks in this system. So,
yeah,
anything you can have a little more public. So that's one of the reasons why I would love to be able to put your stuff on our calendar so that people could see that as well. Would be great, so that it's not, we're not sort of, if somebody is away for a few days, you might never see that ever.
Yeah, and Katie, we can adjust our processes. You know, like I can talk with Karen and other folks here, and just, you know, think about what other ways that we can make sure that this is a little bit more public. You know, it's brand new, and we're trying through the methodologies that we have now. And so, you know, as we get questions like this, we can adjust and have some conversations about how it can be more accessible. So thank you for that.
Check in with directors about check in with directors about what would make it more easy for them to be able to share that information as well. That would be great.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
All right, other thoughts about, can you get a one-on-one, a 101 on Basecamp 101?
Yeah. I think that actually both of the introductory webinars today for family support staff and ed staff are going to do a little tutorial of Basecamp as people log on, because there will be some new users for the family support one, and everyone's new on the education one. So, because this is a new Basecamp. So yeah, I think they're going to do that. And the introductory webinar, I believe, is going to be recorded today, and I can ask the staff who are leading those if the rest of them will be recorded as well. But I remember from talking with them that I think they were going to record this introductory one at least.
Great. Other thoughts out there, other questions, other concerns? Anything working particularly well?
Katie, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep, I can hear you.
This is Angela, and maybe this question is for Nicole. Do you want site level staff, subcontractor, or contract level staff in these meetings?
At the family support and education staff meetings, or the weekly check-ins? Yeah, they're designed for direct services, staff, and leads. So we invite both family support leads, coordinators, and direct service family support staff and classroom teachers and assistant teachers to those.
And what type of platform are you using to support that volume?
We are using GoToWebinar, which is not as friendly as Zoom because it is, everybody comes on muted and we have to specifically unmute people. And so it's not as good for dialogue, but GoToWebinar has the most capacity out of all of our platforms that we use. I think that the capacity is 500 plus. So
that
will be helpful.
Yeah, I agree. It's not as interactive, and yet my bigger concern was we have over 200 in one of those groups in our contract alone. If they all showed up, you're going to have chaos. So I'm just concerned about if every single contractor has direct service staff attending, we have a volume problem pretty quickly. But yeah, I appreciate the clarification.
All right, other questions, comments, thoughts? And Faith, our VC from Bellevue, says that they appreciate all of the resources you're all compiling to support our programs and staff at various levels.
Katie, I have a question from someone, not directly from the line, but it's like what happened with those staff that are working under contract and they are not working full time. So are they going to receive some support?
I am not sure what's going on out there. Are people keeping all of their staff on, or are people reducing hours, or what's going on?
Hey, Katie, this is Sandy. I'll take a risk here. I just think that the diversity, the broad diversity of subcontractors and contractors, some, you know, are dual funded Head Start and ECEAP, some are not. We have some subcontractors that are childcare centers. They've actually pivoted to provide childcare to first responders, public health. So I imagine it's all over the map in terms of staff who may be furloughed, staff who are on partial leave, staff who have other duties they're working. I think it's very specific to those, some of those very, very small subcontractors as well.
Yeah, and that is what Cynthia said as well. And over at the school district in Kennewick School District has kept all staff on. Daniel Rasmussen from Catholic Services is closed, but staff are being paid regular hours until the end of this month, and then 80 hours of emergency paid leave. And so, Maricela, while you're on the line, can you give us a little update about what you're hearing about public charge and related to our serving undocumented families?
Yes, so what I have heard in several conversations, lo que he escuchado en diferentes en conversaciones that are more directly to a Spanish-speaking community, que son más dirigidas hacia la comunidad hispanohablante, is that public charge, I mean, all these medical services related to COVID-19 will not apply for public charge. Que todos los servicios y atención médica relacionada a COVID-19 no va a ser considerado como una carga pública.
Thanks. Any other information that you have gleaned from your research and from the other groups, webinars and things?
Is that a question for me, Katie?
Yeah.
Can you repeat, because I didn't hear you very well, please?
Any other information that would be helpful for undocumented families and for people who are working with undocumented families?
Hey, Katie, this is Fatima. If Maricela doesn't have any anything about the stimulus packages, I have some info.
So
Okay.
what I have, so I had attend a webinar that several a collaboration made. So yo asistía a un seminario en línea que llevaron a cabo un grupo de colaboradores. So unfortunately right now, the only thing that they're talking about, it's about public charge. So there are no other resources, financial resources that can help undocumented people. Entonces, desafortunadamente, no hay otros recursos que se estén ofreciendo a familias indocumentadas. I live in Renton. Yo vivo en Renton, and what I have received from Renton Innovation Shop Partnership y lo que yo he recibido por parte de una organización que es una alianza de renovación aquí en Renton. So they are providing resources and they are not asking anything. So they can help you with groceries and paying the rent and bills, but they are not asking for your status. So ellos están proveyendo apoyo en cuanto a compras de supermercado, a pagar la renta o ayudar con tus servicios y no te preguntan por tu estatus migratorio. So on the webinar, I asked and they said that unfortunately right now from the federal funds, they're not saying anything. So they're trying to work by state or county. So dicen que desafortunadamente a nivel federal no están no están proveyendo de recursos, que eso se está haciendo a nivel estatal o a nivel de condado.
Thank you, Maricela. And that is what we're hearing as well, that the new stimulus package did not include resources for undocumented families. There's some conversation about the next package that they are talking about to support people, that we make sure that that one has a more liberal approach. But I know that the original version of this stimulus package was written in such a way that undocumented families could access some of these resources, but that did not make it through the process.
Right here.
So that's just something to keep an eye on. Susan Yang has mentioned on the chat that One America has posted some resources for undocumented folks, and we will share that in the follow-up email.
So Katie, a nonprofit here, La Casa Hogar, who works with immigrant and migrant families. The other communication gap that they are hearing about is, of course, basic, just general COVID information going out to the Spanish-speaking community. And then in the lower Yakima Valley, there's some talk among family childcare providers who feel like the information about what their rights are in terms of closing and their abilities to continue to get subsidies and those kinds of things are not clear. So they're feeling scared for their health and their safety, but yet feel like they don't necessarily have the agency or the ability to decline taking on new families or to make closure decisions. So that's a big gap in communications in the Spanish-speaking family childcare community.
Stacy, this is Joel. I'm just adding, I've been working with, and Katie as well, the Child Care Association and a number of the child advocacy organizations to not just provide clarity, because I think DCYF has been clear that that they're pretty restrictive on when you can close or not close. That they're making it hard for people to close. Mm-hmm. We're trying to fix that, and so you'll be getting some information this week around our work on that area that you could pass off, and I'm sure we'll also be working with the SEIU as well, who I'm sure will be advocating with DCYF and the governor's office.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Katie, this is Fatima. Can I just say something really quick? It just we're thinking about families, but we also have to think about some of our staff members. They might be under the DACA the dreamers. So they are also not receiving anything. So just to think about that.
So just piggyback on that, hablando respecto a lo que acaban de decir, que las personas de DACA no están recibiendo. So on the call that I was, they said that if their working permit, it's, how do you say? It's, how do you say?
Dilo en español, María, ¿alguien nos puede ayudar?
Está vigente.
It's up to date.
Yeah, it's updated. So they should, and if, of course, if they have working for someone and for that, and it's follow until the requirements that for anyone else, then they could receive benefits, but their working permit tiene que estar, I'm sorry, their working permit has to be updated. So that won't affect. And of course, they have to be working for, there's specific requirements. So that's what I have heard. This change, what they mention is that if people from DACA are not receiving anything, it's because maybe they have been not working continuously. So lo que yo escuché en la llamada que estuve es que para aquellos que están trabajando con el permiso de DACA, si han estado trabajando continuamente y su permiso de trabajo está vigente, entonces ellos pueden continuar recibiendo ellos iban a recibir la ayuda que otros. And I believe Katie's going to send that link for that webinar, right?
I included it in the email that everybody got. So if you're a Spanish speaker, that's the link that I put down there in the sort of email that you got this morning. Hopefully, most of you. I'll send it out to everybody who didn't get it. And then Susan Yang has also mentioned that the health exchange as well is allowing for undocumented folks, but that public charge is a hindrance to this.
Hey, Katie, I also, Katie, this is Lynn. I just sent you an article from the Yakima Herald. There was a big article that just came out this weekend on the whole area around, let me see the title. It's efforts underway to make sure farm workers have access to care and information. So I just sent you that, and there's quite a few links in there. So you can send that out if you want.
Okay. Thank you, Lynn.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else? All right, well, thank you all so much for all the work you're doing and for participating in this call. I'm rethinking our plan to do meetups since DCYF is doing meetups. But if any of you have any suggestions about what you would like us to do to support you, I would very strongly invite you to send them to me and Joel, because we are trying to be as supportive as we can from my cat-ridden condo and from Joel's car. Maricela?
So there's an organization that is working with undocumented families, and the name is Scholarship. Scholarship, ¿qué?
Like a stinky or something like that. Yeah. Scholarship is stink, or something like that. The only thing with that is that they are raising money and they are not open until April 8th, and they're hoping to help up to 65 families. But we can send the link to that, Maricela. I will send it to Katie.
Okay, and there is also Juliana wants to share something. Juliana, adelante. Juliana? Juliana wants to share about the people that that used to work without contract and work independent. ¿Sí, Juliana? So Juliana is talking about the tax credit, the bill that was, the people were advocating for that include undocumented people that are paying taxes. Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Okay. It does or it doesn't?
So as self-employed, as self-employed, I mean, we are still paying taxes, but we are not receiving any benefits. So I want to highlight that at the moment that you guys are advocating.
Absolutely. I completely agree. Thank you, Juliana.
And I think that right now is the perfect moment because it's when we are seeing all this. Sigue continúa hablando. Mm-hmm. Because we are seeing that all the benefits, it's for people that have a Social Security. And the people that we have an IT number, I mean, we can work, we work independently or under a contract. We don't have any benefits. So right now is the moment that we still need to advocate. Gracias, Juliana.
Thank you, Maricela, and thank you, Juliana. All right, thank you, everybody. I really appreciate your time, and go forth and fight the virus. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Kate.
Thanks, Katie.
De nada.